What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So it seems like right now, every day we're getting more reports around shortages for components and technology and rising costs, especially even in the gaming sector. And today's no different, as we're getting more reports coming in around GPUs and what's being communicated to partners, and even shortages for storage that you may need to pick up here pretty soon, but we'll go over all of that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about a major exclusive coming up for Nintendo next year with FromSoft being involved, and exactly how long they've been developing it and how much they're putting into it, with the new report shedding some light. But all of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Guys, we're here every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, going over all kinds of updates in the gaming world. So if you don't get a video notification, just know there's probably a video here for you in the morning. And we're going to start today with Far Cry and how there's a new TV series that's been greenlit. This we can see over on Variety, saying FX has ordered a series adaptation of Ubisoft's Far Cry video games. And here's the interesting part about this, right? While exact plot details are being kept under wraps, the series will follow an anthology format like the games and feature a different cast and setting each season. I think that's a great idea, because that's one of the big things around Far Cry is each iteration, each new numbered series, you can say, one of the big things people look forward to is, yes, the setting, but also like the big bad guy and what exactly their personality is going to be, you know, that kind of stuff. And yes, even the main cast of characters. But I like the idea of this a lot. I think it keeps a lot of the tension high throughout the series, because, you know, one character doesn't have to live for multiple seasons or something. If each cast is getting one season, they can get rid of half the cast and crew. Like, they can really do some really cool things, I think, throughout the season. But still need to hear a lot more about this. At this point, we're just kind of hearing that, yes, it is a thing and it will be happening. They did say it's going to be streaming on Hulu, but then internationally on Disney Plus. And that's the annoying part. It's like, oh man, I got to make sure I have Hulu if I want to see this. It's the whole streaming thing all over again. Still, though, we'll look to hear more, I'm sure, about this as we head through 2026. Also, it looks like we're going to get the big reveal for ModRetro and their Nintendo 64. This we can see is posted by Palmer Luckey, saying the M64 hardware is getting a full reveal on Black Friday. Features, colors, our incredible new controller, cutting-edge AMD hardware, etc. Now that we have answers to all those questions, some great news: ModRetro can keep the price at $199, not just for early signups, but for Black Friday and beyond. Get ready to see what a couple of Benjamins can still buy you. And I will say the Analog 3D has been very, very impressive since now. I mean, it's shipping out there and people are just now getting their hands on it. But even in a lot of reviews and coverage, it's done better than I think what people were expecting. And I'm still putting together an entire video on it with the teardown and exactly how some of this is even working, because the board and some of the configuration around the chips is quite interesting. But it's a good system here with the Analog 3D. Now here comes the M64 with some competition, even coming in at a cheaper price at $200. So I'll be very curious to see what we have on Friday. And of course, I'll keep you guys up to date on it. Oh, and here's something out of left field: a collaboration for Assassin's Creed Shadows with this trailer. Now there's a teaser for it, but it's Assassin's Creed Shadows crossing over with Attack on Titan. Okay, they say a new Attack on Titan quest is coming to Assassin's Creed Shadows on November 25th. Deep within the enigmatic Crystal Cave, a terrifying experiment may unleash a monstrous enemy. Will Naoe and Yasuke survive what lurks in the depths? And Assassin's Creed's done all kinds of fantastical and weird, I mean, just immersion breaking, you could say, collaborations in the past. They've done things with Final Fantasy, with Metal Gear, so it's not too surprising to see them do something like this, where it's mostly going to be, I would assume, as they mentioned, a quest line, but then some Attack on Titan themed gear. Like, that's the most likely scenario here. But I mean, it's interesting, it's different. It's like, all right, why not? It's just a little side story thing they'll do. It sounds like, though, for a limited time. So I guess if you want to check this out, just be aware, November 25th, and then we'll see exactly how long it goes on for. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away, once again, with a lot of the shortages that are hitting and price increases that are hitting now, but also that we're expecting to continue into 2026. And we're going to start with specifically storage, all right? And storage that would be affecting the Switch 2, but then also other consoles and especially PCs. Now, we can see this. This is over on Nintendo Life saying, speaking with IT Media, Tokyo-based vendor Tech House Toei said that its inventory had been very badly affected. Quote, the larger versions of popular series keep running out of stock. This might drag on for a while, with all sizes of micro SD cards from 256 gigabytes all the way up to 2 terabytes being involved. So understand, of course, the micro SD Express cards for the Switch 2, and right now we really see them, if you go into stores and look around, it's like 256 or 512 gigabytes. Those are the two main ones that people are looking at. You can go up to a terabyte, but that does get very costly, and the expectation is, oh, well, what happened with the Switch 1? Over time, prices did come down fairly quickly for even some of those larger, 1 terabyte sounded crazy back then, and then here we were a year or two later, okay, it's not terribly priced anymore, I can go ahead and pick this up. The problem, though, is we're on a different trajectory here, as even microSD Express cards, really any storage at this point, as they go on to say, the report details how even older tech such as hard drives with huge storage capacities is being bought up. Quote, it looks like large capacity models are getting sucked up for AI use. So we aren't getting any stock at all. Everyone knows what's going on, so even if the price goes up, the drives sell out immediately and the cycle repeats. So instead of prices coming down, you would say, for microSD Express cards, it seems like they would level off as they are now, where they're sitting, or actually go up. And it's weird to think that even like older hard drives, but huge storage capacities, especially in a lot of configurations that would be used in massive data centers, you would just need tons and tons of storage space, right? So a lot of the hard drives, yeah, they would just be used up for things like these data centers and not really much left over then for consumers to buy on the open market. So I bring this up specifically because with Cyber Monday right around the corner, and we do see storage typically going on sale, it might be time to make a move on anything you've been maybe putting off for storage. Now, I don't want to be alarmist and say, oh, it's going to be 3 times more next year, but it's hard to believe some of this stuff will be cheaper or even the same price, say, a year from now in 2026 with everything that's going on. Certainly not in the first half of 2026. So if micro SD Express cards, if you have a Switch 2 or you're getting one, probably not a bad idea to pair it. And the 256 right now is probably the one that most people are going to get because it's cheaper. The 512 might not be a bad idea because we're already seeing more and more games show up for the Switch 2 that are 60, 70, 80 gigabytes. We talked about Final Fantasy VII Intergrade is going to be just about 100 gigabytes. And you can kind of imagine, oh wow, that's almost half of that 256 gigabyte card. So yeah, the 512 might be the move now, and especially if you can find it at a decent price. But that 1 terabyte I saw was $200 some odd. That's tough to justify. 512 might make a bit more sense if you see it floating around for like 80 or 90 bucks. But this is how it's going to be for a little while now. I'm telling you guys, it's going to be a couple of years with all this AI stuff and the frenzy happening. All these components and parts are just going to keep getting bought up, but not necessarily by consumers, just by a lot of the contracts and big business that's happening. So it's going to be tough building PCs or even just upgrading storage on your Switch 2, on your phone, really anything at this point. Next up, we're going to stick with the whole AI frenzy and how AMD is now communicating to partners that things are about to get more expensive on the GPU side. Now, this we can see is over on Tech Powered Up, saying AMD has reportedly notified its supply chain that it will increase pricing across its entire GPU product line by 10%. The main driver behind this is the massive memory shortage driving DRAM prices to skyrocket and eating up all margins for GPU makers. Here's the thing. You could raise it 10%, all right? You could have a $500 card, it goes up 10%, okay, it's $550 now. And based on what we've seen previously in the big crypto thing that was going on where video cards were being bought up constantly and there were just none of them, so prices doubled, tripled. We're talking about, like a mid-range card would eclipse $1,000 most times online. It was absolutely nuts. But for this, it comes down to the DRAM, or, well, as you know, for GDDR6 and stuff that would be on these cards, and how there is really a need or a want for 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 as an example on some of these cards. Even mid-range cards, people are asking for 10 gigabytes or more. The problem they run into is those cards being sold for $300. It's not really worth it. The margins aren't there. The price on the RAM itself that's being used on those cards has gotten to a certain point where it doesn't make sense. And that, I think, is going to be the biggest problem for the market. You're going to see these lower range cards kind of go away. And that's what's also been floated here. Maybe NVIDIA doesn't really even look around at that price point because what are they going to do? Make a GPU that has, or a video card that has 6 gigabytes of VRAM on it? That people are complaining about the 8 gigabytes because even in a world now where we see many of these games eclipse that mark in being used in these games, it just doesn't doesn't make sense. Like, people are going to look at that and go, why would I buy that? And then it's not going to sell, even if it is $300 or less. It's this weird situation where they're trying to thread a needle, and it's very difficult. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen on the GPU side when it comes to that lower range card, unless they figure they have some aha moment, some technological breakthrough. They might take a generation off like NVIDIA or AMD, where they don't make those lower range cards and just focus on their big flagship cards that they can sell for like $1,000 or something. That really is how it is now. So my mindset here, I think I'm going to like double or even triple down on some of those cheap PC builds that if you get a little creative, you can make a 1440p system for $250 to $300. Like, it's actually not that bad to do. So maybe that'll be a few videos coming up here as we go into December, as we look around to save money, yes, but honestly, just try to keep your head above water. Next up, let's talk about a big Switch 2 exclusive that's set up for 2026 coming from FromSoft, and that's Duskbloods. And when this was shown, people were looking like, oh, is this Bloodborne 2? Because the look of it, of course, with FromSoft there making it. But no, it turns out it's a multiplayer PvE, PvP type game coming from FromSoft. And I was curious how that would turn out, but it's been pretty quiet since then. And we're still waiting for Elden Ring to show up on the Switch 2 at this point. So this game kind of on the back burner because it has been so quiet. But now we're getting into 2026 here soon, and it looks like we are starting to get some reports around this game. This we can see. This is over on My Nintendo News saying, a Chinese video game journalist who correctly leaked Elden Ring information before the game launched has stated that the Duskbloods has been in development at FromSoft since 2019, going on to say that the game has been playtested internally by the developers more than any FromSoft game to date, and the multiplayer game's gameplay is so innovative that it could influence future FromSoft games, saying, quote, from what I know, the Duskbloods was greenlit even earlier than the marketing period for Sekiro's release. Is the From Software title that has spent the longest time purely on gameplay prototyping and validation among all of their games so far. Although it's PvE and PvP, it reportedly contains many innovative features the team themselves are very proud of. So I am very curious to see how this game turns out. I mean, it's a partnership no one was really expecting when we first saw the Switch 2 and games were being revealed. All of a sudden, oh, there's FromSoft. Oh, this is a brand new game. Oh wait, it's multiplayer as well. I mean, look, we have Elden Ring Night Rain, but that is, man, it's a spin-off of Elden Ring. This is like a brand new game, even though it has, of course, similar look as we've expected from Soft, but it's like a new game, multiplayer, and them doing so much prototyping, so much validating, and really just testing the game out since 2019. I'm curious if this is going to be another big Elden Ring moment for them on the multiplayer side. Elden Ring was massive because it was that incredible world that you would explore, but it opened up the FromSoft formula, right? So this is this open world game that doesn't hold your hand, and it lets you sort of go about at your own pace and explore how you want. So I'm interested if maybe they have something similar in that aha kind of moment, but on their multiplayer front, because Elden Ring Night Rain, again, it's still very much Elden Ring at its core. So it has some guardrails that they have to play around with there, but I'm wondering if there's a bit more to the Duskbloods than I see people go, oh, it's a multiplayer from, so I don't know. I mean, we have multiplayer in FromSoft games, but if this is specifically focused on it, that is the concern people have. They want a single player version of this game, and it could still, I guess, somewhat exist. But if they really go for it with multiplayer, they really have to go for it and say, look, you're just playing multiplayer with this thing. And maybe that would enable them to do some really interesting stuff. So I'm very curious to see this game when they do a full reveal. And I would say, Nintendo, you may want to consider having like some kind of direct for this game, like specifically for the Duskbloods, because FromSoft, it has really built themselves up to being on like this next level, right? For then many different developers. Getting this kind of partnership, I think, is something that Nintendo should champion, and they should look to do some big direct-like event to talk about the game. But that's something we'll think about more, of course, in 2026. First, though, they got to get Elden Ring out because they had to kind of delay that one. So I guess they'll get that out. Then we'll see more marketing about the Duskbloods. And who knows, maybe they decide, you know what? People know Elden Ring. Let's go ahead and show the Duskbloods off again at the Game Awards. So a lot of possibilities, but we'll have to wait and see. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about another place you can look for different sales on games as we're now in the Black Friday, Cyber Monday week. And this one I wanted to point out because it's not necessarily a place people look to often. They don't necessarily think about Gamefly for buying games. They think of Gamefly, of course, for renting games. But we can see over on their website, they have a pre-played sale going on right now, and it seems like it's gonna be running alongside of like the Cyber Monday date. So probably looking to like the first week of December as this will be going on. Here's the thing with Gamefly. Typically their games do come complete. Now they've been played, they're used, but they do come complete usually with the casing and the disc. Don't really have to worry about manuals anymore, so case and disc and cover art, right? Now, I don't think they guarantee it necessarily, although sometimes they mark complete or not, but you'll have to check if you decide to pick any of these up. But it is nice to have options for physical sales on games, right? Like you get an actual game, it's not digital. So let's start here. I picked a few out. Mafia: The Old Country at $25, I think is a great price on a game that you'll get a decent amount. I mean, it was like 10 or 11 hours or so. It's a fun story, fun ride there. I'd check that one out. Lost Soul aside, it's down to 20, okay? And they've been updating it, so just wanted to point it out for anyone who was interested before. Look, it's $20 now. It's gotten to that, maybe price point. Hogwarts Legacy, that one is 20. Metal Gear Solid Delta, $40. Awesome remake. That is another good one to pick up. They've been updating and trying to fix the performance for that, by the way, but just outright, Metal Gear Solid 3, great game. Delta, playing off of Metal Gear Solid 3, still a great game. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4, that one's at $25. Mind's Eye, it's $10. You can decide between a meal at McDonald's or Mind's Eye. So if you end up at the drive-thru, I don't blame you. Star Wars Outlaws is $20. And then Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered, that one is down to $30. So again, just wanted to point out another place for you to just keep an eye on, because I have seen games go in and out of stock quite frequently. So like if I check tomorrow or something, or maybe on Friday, there might be some other games that are then in stock that weren't previously. So worth checking in here and there as you're maybe doing some online shopping, whether it's for the holiday season for other people, or you just want to pick up some cheap games. Definitely keep that one in mind as you're making the rounds. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, if you have a Switch 2, do you have a micro SD express card for it? 60% say no, 40% say yes. I do see some people in the comments who are like, I'm waiting for the 512 to go down. I'm waiting for the 1 terabyte to go down. Well, okay. So just by the way that you're saying you're waiting for the price right now to go down. So because of everything that's going on, we might be looking at the lowest price potentially, all right, for a little while. And I'm hoping it doesn't get to a position where we're just like the memory card shortage for the PS2 back in 2002, 2003, 2002, I think. Hopefully it doesn't get to that point, because that got ugly. So here, if it stays at $200 some odd for the 1 terabyte for the micro SD express card, that might be considered a win, especially if you take a look around at things like RAM right now, where people are putting out the comparison of, look, RAM, like 64 gigabytes of RAM costs more than an entire PlayStation 5 console. Hopefully those micro SD express cards don't get to that level. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from John Strider, who says, you know what the worst part is? RAM prices will go up, and then no matter what, they'll never come down, as companies see that people are still willing to buy at those prices. I don't think many people are willing to buy 64 gigabytes of DDR5 at $500. I think most people look at that and go, that's insane. I'm gonna go find some used parts, and that's kind of it. And really, if you think about it, I feel like most people right now are pretty content if they have to be with DDR4. I know that you necessarily aren't going to go, oh, I'm getting an older processor, an older generation for everything. But some people will. They'll say, you know what? I'm gonna buy used parts and build a PC that's quote unquote good enough. And good enough might be 1440p, as I've mentioned. It's not that expensive. I feel like to build a 1440p computer or desktop with older parts. So I mean, they can hang out with really expensive RAM, really expensive video cards, but eventually people have to decide between buying food and buying the, overly priced $1,000 video card or $600 set of RAM. That's just kind of the way it goes with the market. And that's the nice thing about the PC itself. It's very open, and there's a lot of cool stuff you can do to get to playing games at cheaper prices. And again, maybe that's something I'll look into more as we head into December. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here on a card. Or maybe you wanted to hear about some of my experiences with Sonic Racing Crossworlds. That also is on sale right now. I saw that at Walmart for like $30. Well, I left some of my thoughts in a video, and I'll leave that right below it. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.